I don't want to work. I just want to be married. I just want to be a wife.
The first wave of feminism was great. Like, it gave women the right to vote and it gave women the right to work. I don't want to do any of that.
And so to me, when I said no consent in marriage, I'm saying you don't have to give a verbal yes.
Right.
To me, slavery would be sitting in a cubicle from 9 to 5. What doesn't sound like hell is like cooking for my husband all day barefoot in my kitchen.
The female Andrew Tate. We all thought that title probably belonged to Miss Pearl Davis from Just Pearly Things.
And apparently it's the woman's fault if a man cheats.
Oh, well, a lot of the times in 2024, yeah.
But she doesn't have much credibility in online spaces, even in red pill ones, because she's unmarried and doesn't really practice what she preaches. But there's actually an influencer who says very similar things to her and yet actually practices what she preaches. She's been going viral because of the terrible hate that she's been receiving online, and we're gonna be taking a look at what she actually says and break down if she's really as terrible as people online are saying, or if she's just preaching common sense and getting taken out of context, as she herself claims. Let's get into it. Savanna's a 20-year-old former model, now content creator and trad wife, who has gone viral for saying things like modern feminism is bad, women should marry young, have kids, and then after go to college, women should be submissive to their husbands, consent doesn't exist in marriage, women shouldn't work or vote and they'd actually be happier not doing so, and many other things. So let's get into them.
So I personally don't think women should vote, and that's probably going to be a very far opinion, and that's not to get male validation. That's simply like I maybe married women, because it would just be like my husband having another vote.
People will say, you know, the first wave of feminism was great. Like, it gave women the right to vote and it gave women the right to work. I don't want to do any of that.
I don't think women should vote anyways. If we could have a more conservative country, if all women gave up their vote, I would gladly give up my right to vote to have a more conservative country. Like, it's not that important for me for women to have the right to vote over a conservative country. It's not necessarily like, oh, we don't deserve the right to vote because we're women. It's just the fact that we would have a more conservative country.
So as much as I don't think anyone, especially people who have such a big platform online, should be saying that women shouldn't vote, and it's also nothing that I think we should worry about to begin with. I don't think the 19th Amendment is going to be repealed anytime soon in the US. At least she has a point. She's not just saying that women shouldn't vote because women are women, kind of like Just Pearly Things or other extremist online red pill creators say, but she's saying it more so in a way that she would gladly give up her vote if that meant that she could have the country of her dreams, which, to be fair, I think a lot of us would do. I would also gladly give up my right to vote if I could have the kind of government or the kind of country that I would like to live in. The only difference being that I do think it's kind of an extremist thing to say online. She does say things in a very blunt way. I don't know if she does it to go viral and upset people and then get more numbers, or if that's just really the way she talks. But it's the kind of thing that if you go around saying online, even if your other points are good, or even if your justification for it is good, people are going to, especially women, they're going to dismiss you right away.
Feminism was created to control women. I mean, you look back from the start of it was birth control, basically. Yeah. We were told that our reproductive system and our menstrual cycles are not normal and that they need to be medicated. So birth control was pushed on women so they wouldn't have as many babies. They wanted to tax women as well. So, okay, what do we do to create more taxes, to put more money into the government? We put women to work. And we make them pay taxes just like the men pay taxes.
Now on to modern feminism. Savanna gets a lot of hate online because she's always saying how modern feminism ruined modern women and relationships. And of course, feminists go out here saying that if it weren't for feminism to begin with, she wouldn't be able to have a platform or speak out online. But she does specifically claim that her problem is not with like first wave feminism that allowed us to do these things to begin with, but rather with current modern day feminism, which I think is a very big difference.
There's a few different types of feminism, right? There's first wave feminism, and actually a lot of Christian women or women who believe in traditional roles, they praise first wave feminism because first wave feminism is believed to have given us the right to vote and the right to work and all those, and the right to speak publicly. Like, people will say all the time, why are you so negative about feminism? But the whole reason that you're online and you're on social media is because of feminism. It's completely untrue. So you have like your raging blue hair feminists, right, who are just like all in on third, fourth wave feminism. Then you've got some people in the middle who are probably more liberal leaning. They don't really like men too much. Like, they think women are superior. And then you have women who a lot of times are in my comments and they're like, but I don't understand. Like, you kind of have to be a feminist because it means that men and women are equal. And that's not what the movement, that's the dictionary definition of feminism, but that's not what the movement stood for. That's actually not what it is. I think that's just kind of like a psyop so that we think feminism is okay. And these women think that they owe it to feminism to be grateful for it because they think that that's why they have all the opportunities. And I am very grateful for the opportunities that I have as a woman. Like, I'm grateful I can sit here today and be on camera and talk to you and be on different podcasts and be online. But that was because of the patriarchy. And the patriarchy protected us. And it was always this paternal protection, but then it turned into this toxic thing that was so oppressive for women. And that's what the feminist movement started. They had started attacking the patriarchy. And what's funny is, too, a lot of women don't know this, and feminists actually don't know a lot of their own history, but women could work before feminism. It was not this thing that they were like, all of a sudden they could work. I mean, Mary Wollstonecraft wrote a book about feminism, and it was published and became very successful. And that was before feminism was even emerged. So it's just all these lies around it. And I cannot get behind a movement that has killed over 1 billion babies, that has tried to destroy the nuclear family from the beginning, that has told men that they're pretty much worthless and that women are superior, and that has put us in so much competition with each other. I can't stand behind it.
And she does have some valid points. For one, feminism did encourage women into the workforce, and this, of course, also doubled the labor supply. This has kept wages stagnant and has made it almost necessary in most Western countries nowadays for both women and men to work in order to provide for the household, which it did not used to be a thing back in the day. And as a result, the government and corporations did start benefiting from more workers paying taxes and consuming more. As a result of this, there has been also a huge decline, not just in birth rates, but in the traditional family. And this is an issue for people like Savanna, who are conservative or very religious minded. Modern feminism has also given us the illusion of empowerment, meaning that freedom gets equated for competing in careers, working for corporations, and paying taxes. But people ask, is that real empowerment and freedom? Or is it just swapping homemaking for now wage slavery?
Well, the whole feminist movement, it was a CIA propaganda operation to literally get women to start paying taxes. And so women look at feminism and they feel like they have to be grateful for it because it gave them all these opportunities, to be in the same industries as men and to do whatever. But it was never for them. It was always just this big scheme to get women out of the home, to make the birth rates plummet, to make marriages fall apart, to pay more taxes to the government. And so I look at it and I'm like, this was all a scam. Like, this didn't serve us. This didn't benefit us in any way. And so, yeah, I think that it allows the government to utilize us for tax money. And also it's causing a lot of competition and no contribution in marriages. Like, it's just competition between man and woman, unfortunately. It shames traditional women 100%. And they will say all the time, no, feminism gave you the choice to live this lifestyle. No, it didn't. Feminism pushes a girl boss agenda. It divides men and women. It pushes an anti-family agenda. True. And it ultimately confuses women and makes them think that they have to grind and hustle and build businesses and go to work and get the title.
And as a result of this, we do know, and you can ask any women around you if you haven't experienced this yourself, that many women nowadays report less satisfaction, higher stress, and less time to be at home with their kids or doing whatever they want. And that's something that when Savanna goes on this debate with these other women, one of them, who we see later because she actually downright insults her, we'll see that in a bit, claims that women should just do it all. They should just do the working and they should just do raising the family. But
these women can have jobs and still be at home and still be with the children. They have full-time jobs and they also are able to be moms and take care of their kids. I doubt that all those women are horrible mothers.
But how many of you actually want to do that and actually think that that would work for you and give you a nice, soft, stress-free life? Because it's usually the opposite. You can't really do it all. If you can, it's usually a halfway job. Like, you have to sacrifice something. And also, why would you wanna? I understand being career-driven as a woman, and I understand wanting to be a homemaker and living the soft life, but doing both things, not only does it sound impossible, but also frankly exhausting.
I don't know. It's such a weird dynamic, right? Like, to me, slavery would be sitting in a cubicle from 9 to 5, staring at an Excel spreadsheet, answering emails, getting a 30-minute unpaid lunch break. That sounds like hell to me. What doesn't sound like hell is like cooking for my husband all day barefoot in my kitchen. That sounds like freedom versus the latter.
It's just so funny because a lot of the comments I get are like, yours the other day I was trolling somebody because I posted a Q&A and they were like, "You're my favorite slave," and I was like, "Thanks, I'm locked in this basement right now."
It's been a very oppressive and boring day with me. I woke up at 5 a.m. to make breakfast for my husband because he's going to be providing for us all day. Then I went back to sleep because I'm just so tired. I woke up again at 8:30 a.m. Did my very slow-paced morning routine, took all of my supplements because what else is there to do? And then I made a coffee and took my B vitamin shot as well. Took the time to make my coffee and made it absolutely perfect because I have nowhere to be. And I sipped it slowly while I sat in bed and did my Bible study. I like to read multiple versions of the Bible, so I use the Haven app for that so that I can see all of them. And then my husband makes me make a loaf of bread for him every single week. It's really so exhausting. Went to a coffee shop with my best friend and spent a few hours there. And then we went grocery shopping, went to the gym, sauna, cold plunged. And then we rushed home because I was stressed out because I had to host that night. We made poke bowls for all of our friends. And then I went to bed because I'm exhausted. It was a long day.
What are you talking about? I'm a slave. You're a slave to the corporate industry, and you're a slave to the government because you're paying taxes to the government off literally working a desk job. And that's not every single woman, but I'm talking about a certain amount. But I'm like, why aren't these comments on women who are in corporate, who are literally having to work 40 hours a week? They don't even get much maternity leave. Like, I'm like, well, they have to go back to work, like what, 6 to 8 weeks after giving birth or something like that? That's insane. That's a slave. You're always going to be a slave to something, right? Like I would say like I'm a slave to God, like I submit to God, and that's who controls my life. But if you're working like that, then you're a slave to your boss. I'm definitely not a slave to my husband. I have more freedom at home than I would in a cubicle.
I also see so many women claiming to be independent or wanting to be independent and, work and give up money at home and also do things at home. And lots of these women, at least in my experience, are the ones that end up doing the absolute most. Because let's be real, most of the domestic tasks are still expected to be done by the women. And there are stats pointing out that most of the women still carry on these domestic stats. And of course, this gets even more pronounced if you're from more traditional countries like Latin American countries or Asian countries. So while it sounds like a very feminist thing to say, like, let's split everything and we do everything in half, most of the time it actually ends up being the woman who takes on most of the responsibility. And that's why it's good for you to question whether feminism has really empowered you that much or whether it's made you into a less free, more stressed out version of yourself. But then the problem is that Savanna's solution to this is that most women just get married super young, have kids super young, get provided for by their husbands, and then if they want to, go to college in like their mid to late 30s.
Like a better proposition, if we were to kind of like, give a compromise, to me would be women getting married really young and then going to college afterwards, after they have kids, after they get married, if they still want to go get a degree afterwards, because you do have a fertile window and nobody's realistic about that. And so if you want a family and you want to have kids, I would say start earlier. If you want to go to college after, go to college after, if that's still something that you want to do. It's like this timeline that has been put on us, right? Where we have to graduate high school, go to college, sleep around, party, then work on you need to go into corporate first and climb the ladder and become financially successful so that when you do find that man, you're completely independent from him. Then get married, then 5 years later have kids, enjoy your time married, don't have kids too soon. It's just like, it's awful. And again, like, I don't really understand it, but I know for sure that it's on purpose, because the only thing that it's done is made marriages fall apart and birth rates go down.
This doesn't take into account that most 20-something-year-old women are not really looking to get married at all. They don't have the same level of maturity that she does. 20-something-year-old nowadays have nothing to do with 20-something-year-olds back in the day. And also, most 20-something-year-old men do not have the resources or the drive or even want to settle down with just one woman and marry her and provide for her. And it's a good critique at society that we've gone that route, but it's just simply unrealistic to say that everybody should just go do that. And I think we're going to continue seeing a pattern here with her. I think that even though she brings up good points, and I do admire how well-spoken she is and how mature she is, her main issues lie in, one, the bluntness with which she says things, which I don't really have a problem with, but nowadays it can really come off in a way that makes people, especially women, dismiss her valid points. And two, that she's just downright unrealistic about many things, and I think it's just a result of her being 20 years old.
There's just times where, like, I will find myself not submitting, being nagging, kind of like having this domineering like attitude towards my husband. And so I'm preaching to the choir when I post stuff on, I'm not perfect. Nobody is. Women will be like, well, what if he's being a bad leader? Like, what if I know he's making the wrong decision, but I can't submit to him? And I'm like, well, how do you know he's making the wrong decision? Because you think you're right? You think you know better than your husband? You think you know better than God? No, you don't. So just if he does make the wrong decision, or if it actually does end up going wrong, he learns from it.
Yeah.
He's the man. Like he's the decision maker. Yeah.
I was reading my word, and like there was very wise women in the Bible. I mean, that were, more wise, had more wisdom than their own husbands and stuff, but they yielded to that. And what you're doing by yielding and allowing your husband to make the final decision, he has to stay in communion with the Lord. There was this video I seen where it said, stop answering his phone. Like, and that literally is meaning stop answering the phone. Like God's calling him and you keep answering the phone. And then you're wondering why he's not leading. He can't even hear him. You keep talking too much.
When it comes to the whole women should be submissive to men, I think people are criticizing her very unjustly because she does specify in all of her podcasts that she is Christian. And if we were listening to, say, a Muslim or an Orthodox Jewish woman saying the same thing, which they typically do claim and believe as well, no one would bat an eye at it. No one would dare say anything against them. But because she is Christian and we feel comfortable just being like, oh, like that's so bad for women, that turns back women, but she's just obeying what her religion says. And she literally says that in all of her podcasts. She's like, I'm a Christian, I follow the Bible for absolutely everything in my marriage, and if she wants to go do that, then so be it.
So marriage is so beautiful because it's a representation of how Christ loves his church. Like the woman submits to her husband as the church submits to Christ, and Christ loves us as the husband loves the wife. So it's the only relationship that exemplifies Christ in our world. And so that's why it's so beautiful. But as a woman, I trust God with everything. And that's why I'm so free, because I trust him. I know every single thing that happens, like there's a divine purpose for it. And so when I think of my husband, I think of, okay, well, I trust God and my husband is submitted to God. So I need to fully trust my husband completely. And if you have a husband that's submitted to God and you're submitted to your husband and you're submitted to God, then nothing, like, what are you worried about? And so I can understand how someone who's completely godless and just believes in the universe or zodiac signs or whatever could feel like something bad may happen and they would need a backup plan. And that's why this is probably going to be a hot take, but I don't understand why anyone would get married if they don't believe in God. God invented marriage, and it will not work, or it's going to be hard, or people aren't going to understand their roles. A woman's not going to understand why she needs to submit to her husband if she's not submitted to God. And so that's why it's so important.
If you're not a Christian, I understand why these things all seem crazy to you and no one's forcing you to go that route. But you have to understand that she's not coming from a point of you have to do this because you're a woman, but rather I read the Bible, I'm a Christian, I follow what it says there, and this is what marriage is in that religion, which is true.
So instead, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to talk about, biblical sex and like biblical sex and marriage. And so to me, when I said no consent in marriage, I'm saying you don't have to give a verbal yes,
right,
for there to be, a consensual sexual relationship, right? And so in 1 Corinthians 7:3-5, Paul says that the husband's body belongs to the wife and the wife's body belongs to the husband. Well, as soon as I said the wife's body belongs to the husband, that caused so much outrage. And I still get comments like, your body is yours forever. Well, no, it's not. It's God's. But it's also my husband's. And it's not in a slave way, which I think a lot of people think that way about the Bible when the Bible says things like that, when it says very direct statements like, no, your body is your husband's. But it's also vice versa. Yeah. Is what they don't understand either. Is like the husband doesn't own you. It's kind of like a mutual relationship.
Okay, the consent thing, because I know that upset so many people, and she does specify that she does not by any means condone abusive relationships, and that if you're abusive to begin with, it wouldn't even count under her biblical way of seeing relationships, which again, she specifies every time she talks about this. And she also specifies that the consent thing goes both ways. It's not just women to men, but also men regarding women. I can really see where she's coming from, and once again, I think it's just the delivery that really upsets women so much, which I completely understand because it is a very tough thing to say online for sure. But once again, she's basing it on the Bible, and she's basing it on the husband being loving to begin with, and also him not saying no most of the time or whatever. And you also don't have to apply what any online influencer says in the internet for your life or for yourself or for your relationship. You're allowed to be like, no, I don't want to do it that way. or you're allowed to take into account some of these perspectives, even if you're not religious yourself. Yeah, so these are most of the controversial things that she has said that I think have been taken out of context for the most part, and it's just people getting upset at her delivery. We're going to see in a moment things that she has said that I absolutely do not support or agree with, and actually think they're pretty extreme to say online. But regarding these points, I think she makes some really valid arguments about men and women usually being happier having separate and particular roles rather than pretending to be equal, because we're simply not.
And so without the two, like, and that's why, again, roles are so important. And when I say roles, I'm not saying I cook and clean and he goes to work. I'm saying that I'm the nurturer. I take care of him. I take care of the home. I'm the encourager, the joyful one, the spirit, the life in our relationship. And he is the defender, protector, provider. And that dynamic is what helps the marriage flourish.
Why do I spend 12 hours in the office? Why do I call all day? Why do I do coaching calls? Why am I doing this every day?
If it's just for us, we're simple as hell. We can live
Dude,
in a
I can
box,
live on the street.
You guys can sleep on the floor.
100%. Put me anywhere, I'm totally... But why do we do it? We do it for two things. Number one, to impress women or to take care of our women. That's just the reality. Okay. And then number two, to have status and respect.
I believe that when you are going 50-50, which is like this new progressive marriage, that it causes a lot of competition, and there's actually not any contribution, that the man and the woman are just competing with each other because they're both waking up at 6 a.m. They're rushing to get ready. They're going to their 9 to 5. They come home. They're absolutely exhausted. They're splitting the chores. They eat a quick dinner, scroll on their phones, go to bed, repeat the same cycle over and over again. And it's not working out. And you've seen the divorce rates go up, and you've seen the birth rates plummet. And so bringing tradition back in, and I'm not saying we all have to be in 1950s gowns and cooking it from scratch.
Wouldn't be the worst idea, but okay, sure, you don't have to.
No, it would be great. It would be great. But I think that bringing back the idea of the husband being the head of the household and the woman being his help, like it was in the Bible, like it literally says in the Bible, would help a lot of marriages.
And how most women who actually think they can do it all just end up doing all without getting much benefit to it, and just end up taking insane amounts of responsibility, end up super unhappy, and then the divorce rates just end up increasing tremendously. Before we go into those things that I think are actually insane to think of or to be saying online, let's talk about the whole Lavender marriage thing, because Savanna started going viral online after going to Fresh and Fit and going on whatever podcast. And one of the girls there, apparently it was like a 10-hour podcast, and I'm not sitting through that, sorry. But apparently there was like a lot of drama between them, and the girl was just making a lot of personal attacks and saying that Savanna was in a lavender marriage. Meaning, a lavender marriage, for those of you who don't know, it's a marriage where one or both partners are homosexual or otherwise not romantically interested in each other, and they just marry for like social, professional, or status purposes. Kind of like what they would do back in the day if the husband was gay, but he was still expected to marry someone, and the wife would do it because, you know, that she was pressured to, or he would provide for her, or whatever it was. So they're saying that she's in one of these marriages because they found photos of her husband when he was like super young, apparently, and he used to be like a fitness trainer, and he's posing in a very questionable way, according to people online anyway.
Consent doesn't exist in marriage. I know this is going to piss a lot of people off.
Every time he wants it, he should be able to get it because that's what Jesus would want. This is her husband, literally cruising the streets right before her very motherfucking eyes. Of course you would think that, darling. Of course you would think that no husband would ever force a wife because you wouldn't know. He's not trying to force any woman to do anything. Period. You're out here giving marital advice at the age of 19. Fully married to a gay man. What? And sir, fella, whoever you are, do not let your wife get in the way of finding your fucking husband, okay? Living your truth. It is June. It is Pride. Get out there. Download Grindr. As if you haven't already, girl. Look for it. Look through his little phone. You know they can hide them and make them look like other apps now. So good luck with that.
You're a stay-at-home wife because he knows that if he took you out, you would hear all day.
So yeah, this whole Lavender marriage thing has gone super viral online. I've seen so many TikToks of women saying that he's definitely gay and that when she talks about consent, it doesn't actually apply to them because they're not even together like that, and just a bunch of ridiculous things. Some of the things I've noticed is that lots of these women that are making these claims just give me massive jealousy vibes. And here's the thing, you can like or not like this girl, Savanna, or the things that she has to say, but it's very unquestionable that she's very attractive, she's young, she's very well spoken, seems very confident, seems very charismatic, she's married, she's provided for, she has a lot of things going for her, she has a good business going for her as well. And of course, this is going to trigger lots of people the wrong way. She has an audience that loves her. And I do wonder how many of these whole Lavender marriage comments are thrown at her because people actually think she's in one, or because they're just terribly jealous of what she has and represents. And I have to say that it's extremely disheartening to see so many girls online claiming that this woman's husband is gay just because they don't like her. It's extremely trashy, extremely not classy, also very hypocritical, because aren't we all supposed to be like girls or whatever? It's just not really the kind of thing that I could see myself saying to someone online just because I disagree with her views. And I even saw that when she went on this debate with the other conservative or Republican women or whatever it was, one of them literally told her that straight up, which I thought was so trashy, and I think the moderator should just kicked her out at that point.
I think the advice you give to women is awful. I think it's at a detriment to them, and I don't think it comes from true happiness, and I think it really does come out of insecurity from being in, frankly, a Lavender marriage, as everyone online can see.
I disagree. I think
Savanna, are you that easily manipulated by TikTok rumors?
What is it? Can you clear up for a millennial? What's a Lavender marriage?
Man in 2 seconds. Oh no, I just looked at 2 seconds. I was like, oh, that's a gay man. That's why she's
what?
So sassy on
I think that's uncalled for. I don't know anybody's personal lives here. This is what
it once again really gives me jealousy vibes. It just seems extremely inappropriate to say to someone you can debate with them or you can argue with them without having to go that personal route.
The Lavender marriage one, girl,
is hilarious.
Oh my goodness. No.
Yeah. So I have to say, I've met her husband. You know, he is here. he does not. Yeah, he's very masculine. He's very tall. Yeah, handsome guy. And I think that's the thing. The pictures, he's a very handsome guy.
Yeah.
When you talk about the pictures,
yeah,
they got you for them pictures when you was trying to model, man.
And again, like Noah was he did fitness modeling growing up, and then he was a personal trainer for a while. And every single fitness dude poses the same on Instagram. Are you gonna call all of them gay?
Mm-hmm.
Come on,
my brother.
He's
was
in
too.
shape. He tucks his shirts in, and you're gonna call him gay? I like is that the point of brainwash we've gotten to?
Yeah.
Or it's just like everything's gay, like, and there's even memes about it on social media where it's like, you know, like a man like picking up a water bottle a certain way, and then that sound that's like gay.
Yeah.
You know how it like blasts in the background, but that's the thing, is just like it's so ridiculous. And again, as soon as you know you were talking to my husband today, you were like, they're calling you gay? Like,
I was
what?
talking to him. I was like, and I just literally looked him in his face. I said, you need to get on a podcast. I'm gonna have to get you on next, sir, because they just need to hear your voice and how you talk, and they'll be like, okay, no, he's not at all. But my brother, he was also a fitness trainer and stuff, and I did his photos because I do photography, and he was posing so funny. And I was like, but my brother is a married man with a wife, a pretty woman and stuff, and he's a masculine man. So I was like, what I saw was, it's giving, he's modeling how my brother did. Yeah. It's giving Abercrombie model right there.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I don't really feel the need to defend my husband because the rumors are just so ridiculous that we just laugh about them, but I have extra time today, so mine as well. Number one, the woman who started this whole rumor and who started making viral videos about my husband, which encouraged other people to go viral off of it, was the woman from the Whatever podcast that I debated for like maybe 5 minutes. And because I shared my story about getting married at 18, she immediately called my husband a groomer, even though he's only 3 years older than me. She made a complete fool of herself for 10 hours on this podcast. And then after the podcast, when I started posting clips from it, as one does, that's what happens when you go on podcasts, the clips that I posted went viral, which then made her mad, and so she started to berate my husband online. This went on for like weeks and even encouraged her to make a diss track about my husband and I. By the way, this is the message that she sent my husband. Next time your wife acts up, let her know there's demons out there. All hail That's the person that you are praising for hating on a young married couple. Now that you have the backstory, the second thing is this. I dare any of you raging lunatic leftists to come up to my face or my husband's face in public and say that to my face or his face. You can easily sit behind the screen. You can easily post your viral little videos. You can easily hide behind a screen and post comments. But what I know none of you would ever do is come up to our faces and say that, because you know exactly what would happen. I am not in the turning the cheek business. Sorry, especially when you berate my husband when you try to attack a marriage. My husband and I are fine. Our marriage has never been better. Social media will never ever affect that. Your little comments, your little hate videos, that'll never ever affect my reality. That my husband is genuinely the most God-fearing, patient, humble, masculine, protective, provider man that you will ever meet. And so many of the people in our lives would tell you that as well. None of you have ever met him in person, have ever talked to him, so you have absolutely nothing to say, and shame on you. Go find a hobby, go touch grass. You can disagree with me and what I say all day. It does not affect me whatsoever. People are always going to disagree. But the second you come for my marriage and come for my husband, no, we're not doing that.
And I also personally think it's untrue. I've seen so many fitness, gym bro guys or whatever pose this way online. It's actually very common. I mean, I'm not a fan of it either, but it's really common in heterosexual men. I've seen it in this red pill guy, Justin Waller, that has so many followers supposedly admiring him for his masculinity. And nobody has called him out for being gay. Not yet anyway. So to me, this is just more of like a jealousy, personal attack because I don't like her and maybe don't have content arguments to her than an actual truth. And even if it were true, I don't think it's an appropriate thing to throw at someone at all. And I have to give her credit for handling hate surprisingly well for someone so young.
Oh my goodness. Like if you guys only knew, that man is like the most God-fearing, patient, loving, masculine provider man, and nobody will ever be able to come between us. Like you cannot break something that cannot be broken. And people are constantly trying to attack my marriage, and it has only made us stronger. We laugh about these stupid rumors. We think they're funny. Like it's only made me more money. It's only made us more successful. It's only given me more views, which that's not all I'm doing it for, but it's just funny because what they're trying to do is discredit me, take away my platforms, destroy my marriage, and destroy my relationship with Jesus. And all of those things have just gotten better since the rumors have happened.
Amen. So okay, now let's go on to the actual issues that I have with her message. For one, it does seem like they shared in a podcast that she was the one that asked this guy, the husband, to marry her, which I thought was kind of odd.
It's something that I wanted, and as soon as I met her and she checked off all the boxes and told me that she wanted to marry, she was actually the one who told me she wanted to marry me first, believe it or not, like 2 weeks into our relationship. And hearing that was like, wow, I thought I was supposed to kind of like initiate that and like pursue her, which like I did at first, but she was the one who was like, hey, I think I'm gonna marry you, as crazy as it sounds, not to scare you off or anything. So like as soon as I heard that, I remember she sent me that through like a long voice message, and on my way to work, I just like sat there with that message and like replayed it a couple times, and I was just like, okay, like that's what we're gonna do. And like I think less than a year later we got married.
And I think it kind of conflicts with these like feminine, masculine roles and traditional marriage that they're trying to push.
Something that I personally loved about my proposal in my marriage was that I didn't bring it up once. I didn't send ring photos. I didn't really talk about it, other than when we both had the conversation, obviously, of like, I want to marry you. But I never had to question once in my relationship if my husband wanted to marry me or not.
And it's something that I would personally not recommend for anyone to do, to have to be the one that asks anyone to marry you. I mean, if the guy wants to marry you, as most of you know by now, I'm sure, he will ask you. He's also a very young guy, keep in mind. I would not recommend for most women to marry someone that young, just because most 20-something-year-olds, not just guys, like women as well, are really immature nowadays, don't really want to commit or settle or have that compromise of building a life with someone. But especially men at 20-something-year-olds nowadays, they're watching porn, they're following a bunch of Instagram girls, they have absolutely zero interest of being a husband, which is unfortunate, but it is a reality. Maybe like late 20s, but like they married when he was like 19 or something. So while I do hope it works out for them, and while I do actually believe that he's an exception to the rule, it's definitely not the norm, and it's good to keep that in mind. So I do think that's probably why she was the one that asked him, but just keep in mind that you should not have to be the one who asks him. And while I don't think that actually affected the whole like masculine feminine polarity, it probably will affect yours. And that brings me to my next point, that I think a lot of the problem that people online are having with Savanna is that on one hand, she's pushing this narrative of being a soft feminine woman, of being a stay-at-home wife, of having these traditional roles. But on the other hand, she presents herself with a lot of masculine traits. She was the one who asked her husband to marry her. She's very blunt, very direct, very confrontational, very good at speaking, and very good at confronting people and being confident when people confront her. And I actually really admire all of these qualities in her. I'm actually extremely impressed by the things that she says and the way she carries herself, because again, this girl isn't 20, and all of these traits I actually really admire in her, considering that she's only 20 years old. And I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I myself share a lot of those. But it just really presents a bit of a contradiction between the lifestyle that she's pushing online and what she's telling women that they should be doing, and the way that she actually presents herself. And this brings me to the next point, which is part of the reason why she's getting so much hate online. And it's the fact that she herself has a career. She's on social media. She has a bunch of TikToks, a bunch of followers, and pretty much every platform. And she's even created a business.
The submissive society.
The submissive society. What is it exactly? What are you going to be, doing? Are you coaching women? Are you coaching everybody? What is it? What is your goal?
I mean, it'll be women specifically, but I get an influx of questions in my DMs every single day that are asking for advice, and they will be very long paragraphs that I would love to read through and respond to every single message, but I don't have the time in my day to do that. So I've created something to where we can jump on Zoom calls every single week. These women can ask questions. They can ask each other questions. Ultimately, like, I'm the host of the Zoom. We're going to do book clubs. We're going to read, books like Occult Feminism and Hollywood Babylon, and books that actually are against
feminism.
The government. Yeah.
Okay.
Feminism and the government. And then of course, I'll have a few ebooks in there as well.
Isn't that considered a job?
Sure.
And when you're saying you don't want to work, you want to be a stay-at-home wife, you're working.
Yeah.
How come?
I kind of fell into that. I mean, and I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily with a woman making money. The problem is that society tells us that it should be our priority.
You'll never make that a priority over your household.
Yes.
Over your marriage.
Yes. So the Proverbs 31 woman, and why I like to bring this up, is she was very entrepreneurial. She made clothes, she sold them. She made goods, she sold them. So obviously, it says in the Bible that she made money for her family, but it was family focused. The only reason that she did that was for the family, not so she could achieve a certain title, not so she could find her worth in monetary value, but to uplift her husband and protect her children.
I love it.
Yeah.
The foundation was there.
And this is actually a trend that we've seen a lot in the past few years. Lots of women claiming to be traditional wives, and then ultimately they're not the typical housewives. They have podcasts or platforms online, and they have their own businesses where they make money. All the while, they're telling women not to have jobs and not to have their own careers and to fully be provided for their husbands.
This may just be an unpopular opinion, but I feel like as a society, we are kind of fizzling away from the boss babe culture. I feel like a lot of my friends are just models that I've worked with in the past, or colleagues and things like that. They're just like, girl, I just don't want to work anymore. They're moving out of the big cities. They're kind of settling down at a very young age. I'm talking early 20s. They're like, I'm done. I don't want to work. I just want to be married. I just want to be a wife. And let me tell you, when I was in high school growing up, for my entire life, the short life that I have lived, everybody was telling me, Savanna, you need to go get a college degree. You'd be great as a lawyer or a politician or a doctor, just things, just bigger careers, because I am a passionate person. They would always tell me to have a big career like that. And I always thought that I would be doing something like that. I wanted to be a criminal defense attorney for the longest time, which takes a lot of work and it's a lot of school. And then I got married at 18. And when you marry somebody who provides for you and is very masculine, and you can just turn your brain off around them, it changes your entire mindset. I don't even know the girl from 2 years ago that wanted a career so badly and was such a hustler. Not saying that I'm not a hard worker anymore and that I'm not driven, but when you get married to somebody who does all the thinking for you, It is so nice. And we moved to a bigger city when we first got married, and we ended up moving back home to our small town. And I'm just a wife. Like, I absolutely love it. I have such a good life this way, and I couldn't have imagined it in any other way. Applying to colleges and trying to figure out my career path was so incredibly stressful. It was so stressful. And so I think it's amazing that we're kind of shifting away from that. I'm not saying it's bad to be a boss babe, but I'm telling you right now, when you actually relax into your femininity and let somebody else take care of you, girl, life is so much better.
And so understandably, this is going to upset a lot of people. To be fair, she does reframe this whole her having a business on the side thing as her just contributing money to her household and not working for anyone else, not having like a corporate job or having a job outside the home, but rather contributing all of this money to her family, and saying that she sees nothing wrong in women having a job so long as it all goes for the family, not just the money, but the actual job itself, which I can absolutely get behind from. But I also understand the online frustration, because there's so many of these women that come off online as being provided for or being kept women or stay-at-home wives or whatever it is, but they all have these crazy rampant businesses that at this point possibly even make more than their own husbands. Then there's the issue of her age. I believe Savanna's 19 now, and she started speaking online when she was like 18 or 19 I believe. She got married at 18, and she gets a lot of hate because she gives so much marriage advice, and her business is a community for women to share marriage advice, and she has shared how she has middle-aged women or even elder women there talking about their traumas and their relationships, of how they've gone through abuse, which, to be fair, I could not imagine myself being like an older woman who's gone through all of this or who's married, paying all this money to be led by a 19-year-old who just got married. Like, I don't know why you would do that to yourself, because she clearly doesn't have enough experience to guide you through that, which doesn't invalidate that she can have really good points and teach you many other things, but probably not to the extent that you need. But then again, if people find value in that and they want to use their money that way, who am I to say anything? While I do think that she's an exceptionally mature and smart and well-spoken and has her things together for her age, and I do applaud that for herself, I do agree with most of the criticism online regarding her age, and she completely dismisses this, disregards this, says that it's not actually relevant, and always cites this quote from the Bible about Timothy or something like that.
You know, I'll add to the thing about us being married so young, and why it's weird is because we've kind of infantized adults. Like, we've told 18-year-olds that they're not adults, that they're children, and said that your brain doesn't fully develop until you're 25. And I always use this verse, which was said at our wedding. It's 1 Timothy 4:12, and it says, "Don't look down on anyone because they're young, but set for the believers an example in faith and speech and love and purity." And so we had that said at our wedding, kind of as like a, you know, the Bible says to not even look down on us because we're young. But Timothy in the Bible, he led a church he might have been like 17, 18, 19, 20, kind of in the same age range I am. And he was like, God, am I qualified to lead this church? And God was like, yeah, you're qualified. Like, I have given you the gifts and the skills to do this. And so the comments always at me are like, you're too young to give marriage advice. No one should trust you. Like, that's what they try to discredit me with. And then they'll go after my husband and call him gay because I call him masculine, right? So they're going to say whatever is the opposite to try to discredit what we're saying. But truthfully, you know, it literally says not to look down on people because they're young. And also, I think there's such a passion at this age for what you believe in and what you stand for. And even at 23, like my husband too, there's such a passion at this age, and we kind of have to just go for it with full fire.
And while I do think you can be 20 years old and still in the honeymoon phase of your marriage and have lots of good things to say to people online and could absolutely have your space and your platform to say things online, I have nothing against that, you do have to keep in mind that you've been married for a year, you're still purely in the honeymoon phase, and again, you're 20 years old.
I mean, I answered this question on a Q&A actually yesterday, and it's like, okay, if I was a 19-year-old millionaire, for example, like everybody would be running to my page, please give me business advice. How did you scale your business? Like, how did you make so much money? How are you so successful? But as soon as I'm like, yeah, I'm a 19-year-old wife, like they're like, no, you were groomed. Like, I'm not going to take advice from you. You were groomed. You've only been married a year. You're only 19. You don't know what you're talking about. And those are women that are just like resentful towards their husbands, or they're single. Most of them are actually single, the ones who say that I'm not qualified to give advice. So if I have something that you don't have, wouldn't you want to learn from me? Because I achieved it at such a young age. Same thing if I had a super successful business and maybe you're 35 and you want the same thing. You're going to be like, how did you achieve that so young? It's the same thing with my marriage.
What if the argument is you've been only married for a year? You know, like you don't know if it's gonna work. Same principle.
Well, divorce is not an option for us. Period. It's just not an option.
No matter what.
It's just so normalized in today's society that people are like, well, what if you get divorced? Like, have you thought of that? No, honestly, I haven't thought of it. It's not an option for us.
So, of course, people are right to question whether your advice is going to apply to most of them, because to be fair, you haven't really gone through most of the challenges that marriage bring down the line or throughout the years or throughout the decades or whatever it is. And she always discredits this criticism from people online, saying that it doesn't really matter because her relationship is completely based on Christ and the Bible, and they're never going to give up on each other, and they pray together every night, which is a true statistic that couples who pray together every night, only like 1% divorce or something.
I mean, I will post things about my husband providing for me, and they're like, wait till he leaves you in 20 years and goes and finds a younger girl and leaves you with absolutely nothing. And the truth of the matter is that doesn't really happen, right? Like 70 to 80% of divorces are filed by women who were unhappy or just bored. It really doesn't happen where the man just leaves you with absolutely nothing. I think too, like my marriage personally, Christ is at the center of our marriage. And if you don't have that foundation, then of course it's going to fall apart. Of course there's going to be infidelity. Of course you're going to be looking elsewhere because you don't have that foundation. And couples that pray together stay together. Like we pray every single night and Christ is at the center and we're going to church together. And we did that from the beginning of our relationship all the way up until now. So I think bringing Christ back into the marriage is really important.
I get the stupid comment all the time, like, what if he leaves you for someone younger in 20 years? And I'm like, well, first of all, 80% of divorces are filed by women. Men don't really divorce their wives that much. It just doesn't happen a ton. And also, like, we're committed to each other. This is not going to happen. Christ is at the center of our marriage. It's such a projection and it doesn't really happen either.
And while I do think these are wonderful things and I actually do envision them being together or whatever it is, I do find some very cute, not a hateful person, I think it's super cute, some very cute like arrogance on her part that you would have at 19 or 20 years old, because it reminds me of when I was that age and I was also like in a relationship or had friends or was in school and no one could ever tell me anything, and I always thought that I knew everything and everything was going to work out for me the way that I thought it was, and I would disregard everybody's criticism, whether it was regarding my relationship back then or my friends or my job or my university degree. I just think it's a very typical thing when you're 20 years old to think that it's going to work out for you just the way that you think it is. And I'm not saying that her marriage won't work out, because I actually do think it will. I'm saying it in the way that she almost implies that there won't really be any hardships, that certain things couldn't happen to her, which I do think she has a lesser likelihood of them happening, but it's definitely not impossible. And that's where I find just this like typical youthful arrogance that I do think like 10 years from now, she will look back and be like, I thought I knew everything and I didn't. And I find this arrogance as well in certain comments that she makes, like when she was in the Whatever podcast and someone asked her if she would ever divorce her husband or leave her husband. And it's true that Christians under the Bible, you're not supposed to ever leave each other. Under no circumstances you should leave your spouse. You should always try to work things out for the better or for worse. Like you should just really try till the very end, especially if you have kids. So when they asked her if she would leave her husband if he cheated on her, you know, time after time, if he was like a chronicle cheater basically, she says that it would be hard, but she would not leave him.
I would say that the goal is for them to learn from that mistake and then to grow from it. Especially like me getting married so young, we're still figuring out life together. So I don't expect every single decision to be perfect, but I trust him to make that decision and then to pivot.
Would there have ever been a breaking point for you if he kept kind of making those mistakes that and wasn't seeming to learn from them? Is there a breaking point for you?
Divorce isn't an option for me under any circumstance in my marriage.
Even if he cheated on you?
Yeah, I wouldn't leave him.
Damn, that's crazy.
You know, my husband wouldn't cheat on me. That's just like something
You're like very bad vibes. So like if a man cheated on you, you would tolerate?
Not my husband. If it was a boyfriend, I'd leave.
No, I feel like I know you're a man, like you're a husband. If he cheated on you, you would tolerate it?
It would be extremely hard to get through. I think that would be probably the hardest thing I went through in my marriage, but I don't believe in ending a marriage.
What if it was reoccurring infidelity?
I mean, we'd have an issue there. Like, But yeah, I wouldn't leave my husband.
Even if he did it multiple times.
Yeah, I wouldn't leave my husband.
She says that it's not something that would ever happen to them and that he would never leave her for someone because their relationship is based on this and that. And that if it did happen, she would still not leave him. And once again, I just catch that youthful, like, nothing will ever happen to me. And while I do think that she has probably a way lower likelihood of it happening to her, to completely invalidate that it could never happen to you just seems very, very, very like the kind of thing that a 20-something-year-old would say. Same as I would never leave him if he did any of these things, because as much as you would hope that you wouldn't, you don't actually know how hard that would be on you, how disrespectful it would be on you and your kids, and how she's literally investing, you know, her whole youth and life onto this man. And she might be tempted to leave him if she were in that situation. So I think she'll pick up on some humility about life, and with time she might realize that you might not even know how you would react to something unless you were in that situation. And these kind of things as well, these kind of comments like I would not leave him even if he cheated on me or whatever. It's why feminists and women online are calling her a pygmy or the female Andrew Tate. Though to be fair, she's not like Andrew Tate or like just pearly things that say it's okay for men to cheat.
You will not sleep with a man you don't like. I can sleep with a woman I don't like. It's a completely different thing. I can be head over heels in love with a woman, ready to die for her, ready to take a bullet for her, protect her, give her all the money in the world, make sure she has a beautiful family, a nice big house, all of it. And I'll still f that bitch. Watch me.
I'm not trying to advocate for cheating. I don't think it's okay. I just think we have to understand where the guys are coming from. We expect monogamy and we judge them for cheating, but yet we're not virgins. Yet we have open Instagram accounts. Yet we come in with a child. It's like, and then we're going to say, be faithful to me.
Or that, you know, the case of Pearl, that she wouldn't even leave her man if he cheated. And it's not a Christian thing for her. It's more of like a pygmy thing, to be honest. She's not like them. She does think that men, you know, should be faithful and monogamous because she is a Christian after all. But of course, women are not going to like that. They're going to be offended by that. And I think it comes back to her very blunt, somewhat aggressive delivery, just not being the kind of thing that women tend to like in online spaces. I myself am not really easily bothered by it, but I do understand why other girls are. And then finally, another point that I definitely have issues with is the fact that she has said some not very nice things about gay people, like them not contributing anything to society. And once again, I think it's something that shows that she's just lacking humility and that she's just extremely blunt and doesn't really think things through, which again is so typical of 20-year-olds.
What do you think about homosexuality?
It's a sin. It's against God.
It's a sin. I feel like I'm speaking. I feel like I'm talking to Candace right now. I love
well,
that.
That's a huge compliment.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So you think it's a sin, or you believe it's a sin?
It is a sin, like factually.
It is a sin.
It's not natural.
But what if they're not? What if they're not hurting anybody?
They are.
How?
I mean, gay people don't contribute anything to society at all. Like you can't create children. And it's actually, if they do decide to get married, quote unquote, like sign a contract, it's not a marriage either.
I think this is a particularly inappropriate thing to say because, well, yes, Judeo-Christian religions and Islam think that homosexuality is a sin. Most Christians and Jewish people, and possibly Muslims as well nowadays, especially living in the West, they wouldn't really think this kind of thing that she's saying, not would they say that out loud. I've actually heard people like Ben Shapiro talk to gay Jewish men who've come up to talk to him about whether they're sinning, and he's actually being quite humble and nice to them and be like, you know what, yes, but so long as you believe in God, we're all sinners here. We'll all sin here in a different way. So it just seems like a very like holier than thou kind of thing. Like I'm sure she's sinned in many other ways as well. She's not perfect, and homosexuality is not really something that you can control to begin with. Like you can't really control the people that you're attracted to, and so long as you're not hurting anyone, I don't think that bothers really anyone, even Christians, and I myself am one. And she bases this claim on the fact that they don't contribute anything to society because they can't have kids, but many other people can't have kids either because they're sterile or have any other issues, or maybe they can't find a partner. So are these people also bad because they don't contribute anything to society? Is that the mentality that we're having? I mean, by that argument, she doesn't have kids yet, so she's also not contributing anything. I can get behind the whole LGBTQ propaganda and the way it's been pushed down our throats in the past few years in a way that doesn't even justly represent the gay community or whatever it is, but saying something like that just seems to me really unnecessary and, again, lacking in humility.
Where she was like, I can't stand, and I actually responded to this one. She said, I can't stand when my husband leaves his clothes on the floor, like on the floor in the bathroom. It's driving me nuts. Like, what do I do? And I said, just pick them up.
Love it.
That is like the least, and I think that's such an issue in marriages is people get annoyed with like the littlest tiny thing. Every night when my husband takes a shower, he leaves his clothes on the bathroom floor, and I just pick them up and I go put them in the laundry room, because guess what? The laundry is my role in the household. So before you get married, it's a really good idea to be like, oh, like think of the stupidest little things and just be like, who is going to do this in our marriage? And then it makes everything just smooth and seamless.
So you think they're just overreacting over, obviously, stupid stuff?
It's like, oh, he won't stop leaving his plate in the sink, but just put it in the dishwasher.
Yeah. Things like this just show me once again that she's not really taking into account the fact that most women don't have no kids like her, and someone that just provides for her and just gets to get up, or whatever time that she gets to get up with. Most women do have like real jobs and corporate jobs and have to show up, and then also have to come home and take care of the kids, and are probably quite tired to also have to pick up somebody else's clothing. So I understand the resentment on their part, and she doesn't really seem to take into account situations outside of her own. So to sum things up, is she the female Andrew Tate? Compared to just pearly things, I think she actually practices what she preaches. Her arguments are actually based on Christianity, and I think she deserves respect for that, because it is her religion and she's entitled to live her life based on her religion however she wants to. Versus Pearl is more like a toxic, like pick-me vibe, and she definitely does not practice what she preaches. She's not married, she doesn't have kids, she's extremely confrontational online and loves good debates and loves being more masculine in that sense, which again, nothing wrong with that. The problem comes more so when you sell that you should be a certain thing online, but then you're literally the opposite. I also think Savanna brings up lots of good points. I do admire like the values that she pushes. I do admire how authentic she is and how she says that she will not sell herself under any circumstances.
You mentioned OnlyFans, right? So if you were offered a shit ton of money to do OnlyFans, would you ever do it?
No. I mean, they make a shit ton of money on OnlyFans.
I mean, especially now with the following and all the engagement. So no amount of money in the world would convince you to do something like this.
No.
Okay, why is that? Is it the value? Is it a tradition?
You can't buy me. Like I
can't put a price on Savanna.
Yeah.
I love that.
You can't. My values are too strong, and I won't fold for money.
God is the foundation.
To me. Yeah.
I don't like. I'm gonna tell the truth. I am, and I think too. There's not enough authenticity on social media. It's just like kind of this very beautifully portrayed, even if someone's speaking, it's like, do you believe that? Or are you not saying like the full thing you believe? Are you trying to protect your brand? Are you trying to be brand safe? Are you trying not to get canceled? And that's why we've let cancel culture win, is because everyone's scared of getting canceled and scared of not standing up for their beliefs.
She recognizes how busy stay-at-home moms are and how feminism hasn't really benefited us women nowadays as much as we think it has, because oftentimes we just end up doing so much more than we were supposed to. She also recognizes that it is okay to have a job as a woman, so she's not like hypocritical in that sense, given that she herself has a career, and even claims that there are many jobs that she thinks women just excel at over men doing the same job. Overall, I think she bases the things that she's saying more so on the Bible rather than on feelings or on what men want to hear, which is where I think people like Pearl end up going, and that's why they lose a lot of credibility. And because of that, I do think she has my respect personally. I don't think she's someone who should be canceled just because she's preaching what she thinks. And her issues are more so, well, the gay thing, I did think that was weird. and I'm not woke by any means, but I thought that was kind of unnecessary. But I do think her issues are just like her bluntness. It's just the way that she is. And, we do live in a quite sensitive society. And also the fact that she is 20 years old, and a little bit of humility that will come with time, I think, would be amazing, I think. But yeah, I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. Do you think she's extremely toxic and gives horrible advice and should be canceled? Do you think she has valid points and people are just downright sensitive nowadays? I would love to hear what you think in the comment section. Give me your likes, subscribe, and I will see you very soon.